Doing it live.
I'm not going to say the rest of that because this is a family-friendly show.
I might make this a touch taller if I could.
Yes.
I don't know if Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like one of those you should.
No, you're right.
As long as you just watch the cable.
Yeah.
That's the story of Joel's life. Just a touch taller, please. Just a touch taller, please.
I've never ever said that in my entire life. It's always, I need it lower, please.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into this one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 63 of the Board Game Gateway podcast. I'm Neeber, and I am your host. Well, we've got three lovely hosts around me who are doing jazz hands. My name is Neeber, and I'm your host for tonight's episode. And these three lovely jazz hands experts around the table. On my left, we have Mr. Damien.
Hello.
On my right, we have Mr. Joel.
Hello.
And further right, we have Mr. Ralph.
Fireworks.
No, there's a bunch of clocks.
We are your entry way into the world of board gaming, tabletop gaming, and fun times. And on today's or this morning's episode, whenever you happen to be listening to this, we're going to be having a chat about a few different things today. We are going to be having a chat about a new game released by Ryan Courtney called Spectral. We're going to be having a chat about another game that's been given the Duel/Duo treatment in Tokaido Duo, and then following on, we've got basically a remake/retheming of another Duo game called Lord of the Rings. Duel, is it?
Seven
Duel?
Wonders.
Duel?
Yep,
that's what it is. It's sitting back there. Duel for Middle-earth. There it is. As well as our gateway game for this week is going to be a 2010 classic called Hanabi. We also get to our discussion topic, which was actually given to us by a YouTube commenter who will call out at that section in the podcast. But gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome back. I will just very quickly just say to everyone, we are back on the wired mics. We've been trying some wireless setup. We weren't entirely happy with it, so we decided we're going back to the
get the trusty cables out, man.
Yeah, but now I had to put a microphone back in front of everyone's faces, so we'll see.
I think it's an improvement.
Yeah, oh, wow.
Ouch. Maybe for some of us.
Ouch. I feel that hurt a little bit. Oh,
I meant the audio quality.
There's something to hide behind now.
Sure. Yeah, that's what he all meant. All right. Anyway, we're not gonna stuff around for too much longer. Let's get straight into.
What do you mean? That's why I come here to stuff around.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Okay, fair enough. Well, how about you stuff around and tell us about Lord of the Rings: Duel for the Middle-earth, one of the games that's currently on the new hotness on Board Game Geek.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings: Duel for Middle-earth is a retheming, essentially, of Seven Wonders Duel. Mm-hmm. But what they've done a thing that a few designers have done, where they've revisited their games, taken bits and pieces out of some of the expansions. So. What they've done, they've taken a little bit out of Pantheon, which was the first expansion for Seven Wonders Duel, and then I think it's Agora or Agra. Name of the second one.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the.
So they've taken elements of the Senator track and they've implemented it here. But essentially, the theme of the game is you are either the leaders of Middle-earth, so the free folk,
The Fellowship,
or you are the armies of Sauron. And there are a few things happening in this game. Now, what I will say is, for anyone who has played Lord of the Rings Duel in the past, there are the usual tropes here.
Oh, Seven Wonders Duel.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Seven Wonders Duel. I'm going to do that for the entire time because I've been doing that the last 2 weeks.
You may reference it as Seven Wonders if you
So
like.
what are the similarities between the two?
The similarities is you have 3 rounds. Mm-hmm. You have face down cards as well as face up cards.
The ages.
Yes. And
the
drafting still exists. So on your turn, you can either take a fully revealed face up card. So some cards will be only partially revealed. Can't take those until they are fully available. As face down cards are uncovered, they flip over. And then they become available to your opponents as well.
Yeah, okay. So that part of the game is the exact same.
It's the exact same. The other thing that they've just purely rethemed, it is exactly the same otherwise.
Military track?
No, the science victory.
Oh, okay.
So in Lord of the Rings Duel and in Seven Wonders Duel, there are the science victory is simply just first to 6 of the green green card symbols,
the set sort of thing.
Bang, you win the game. Same as in Seven Wonders Duel.
What I really like about this is the fact that you're collecting the Fellowship.
Yeah.
I thought that was
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, it is.
That's a cool idea.
You're collecting symbols that represent different members.
Or
of
if you're
the
Sauron,
Fellowship.
you're killing them.
Yeah. Now, what they have,
have
changed in the game though is that there is no military track.
Okay.
Instead, what they have is a map. And that map is kind of something out of it's very, very similar to the Senator from the senator board from
Agora.
Agora.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar to that. I'm not gonna say it's the same, but it's that is where you get the military victory from. So instead of it being a track which goes one side or the other like it is in Seven Wonders Duel, it's an area control thing.
Right.
And the moment you control 7 regions, you win the game.
How do you...
On either side?
On either side, that doesn't matter. So
I've not played Agora or the same.
Oh, okay.
How
So-
would I gain control of areas?
So the way it is that as you collect red cards, the military cards, it will give you the option to, in some cases, it will say you get to place 1 unit in this region.
Mm-hmm.
Some cards say up to 3 units in a particular region.
Yeah.
And you basically place the units out. Units come in 2 types. You have warriors. Warriors can be battled.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's pretty straightforward. When you place a warrior in a region, if your opponent has a warrior in that region, they knock each other out one for one.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
But you also get the opportunity to place towers in regions as well. Those that they're permanent structures.
Right.
So like gives you a bit of a bonus sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the final way to win, which I think is the most interesting way, is there is a track in this game. And you basically that is the ring bearer track.
So you marching Frodo to the Mount Doom.
To Mordor.
To that's right, yeah. And so you have basically Frodo and Sam on one end,
Samwise.
and you have a rider on the other end. And then as you begin collecting rings, what happens is that Sam and Frodo, they get closer to Mount Doom.
Yep.
But the rider can also begin moving closer as they begin to collect rings as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is while Sam and Frodo can get closer to Mount Doom, the rider never ever falls back because it's on this like dual layered track kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
okay.
the wraiths.
Yes, that's right.
The wraiths,
The ring wraiths.
Ring wraiths, right.
So-
okay.
It's yet another win-loss condition.
Right, okay.
So the Fellowship is trying to get to Mount Doom. The Ring Wraith is trying to catch them, and the moment the Ring Wraith overlaps Sam and Frodo on the track, that's it.
Them,
That player
they
wins.
lose.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. It has the same end-game condition. So if it turns out that there's a tie, it's military win.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Wins. It's the same thing. So
There
whoever
like,
has
still
the
has the
most
civilian
control.
points and things, or that's not.
No. So that does not exist in this game.
Yeah. Okay.
The last piece, the last piece that exists in this game, it kind of replaces the wonders that existed in Seven Wonders Duel.
Are these locations or something?
Locations. So you can purchase locations, and what they are, they contain a series of symbols. So the symbols are typically on the grey cards. As you collect those symbols, you can then, on your turn, instead of taking a card, you can choose to take one of these locations. They give you bonuses.
Do you still have to take a card from the tableau to take one of these?
No.
Okay.
No, so you can do that.
So it's like a
as
little
store
store.
mechanic. So
Yeah, okay.
Pantheon introduced that the whole store.
Yeah,
mechanic.
the idea in Pantheon was that I can spend money essentially to do something with my god cards to be able to a second option of being able to do what I need to do there.
So this has a different stalling mechanic.
Yep.
But it's a stalling mechanic nonetheless. So it gives you a little bit of agency. And then the final thing in the game is you can still discard cards for money. That still exists.
Can you bank that? Because I remember the other one, you can bank a lot of yellow cards, and when you discard a card, you get more
It
money.
gets like exponentially better.
No,
You
no.
can't-
So
you-
this
they
one,
took that away.
It's a
Yeah.
flat. It's
It's a
flat
flat
bank.
2 gold, is it?
So it's 1 gold for the first round, 2 gold for the second round, 3 gold
Yeah,
for the
So
third round.
that's a flat thing. Yeah.
And the last thing is, again, with the science victory, they've got symbols instead of having tokens that you collect.
Yeah.
So it is tokens,
It's
but
still tokens,
they are different. And the way it works is that as you either collect 2 of the same a symbol, or you
Get an
collect
ability
3,
or-
you get to basically flip over some of these tokens, pick one, and then put them
Yeah,
back.
okay.
I think the very last thing that's different are the purple cards. The purple cards were bonuses in Seven Wonders Duel.
Not the case.
In this case here, they are heavily geared towards sort of like either getting moving units around
Troops
on the map.
Yep.
Or getting other sort of like particularly monetary bonuses and stuff like that. But it's
Yeah,
mostly around moving troops.
It sounds like
So-
you really do enjoy this rework. Like, are you finding that it works better than say Seven Wonders Duel? Are you enjoying the theme?
Oh, look, I'm a sucker for anything Lord of the Rings. Okay, I if it's got Lord of the
That's
Rings on it, I'm gonna grab it.
Yeah.
All right, and that's why I got it. It's got like the art is by Vincent Dutray, which is just beautiful. In terms of how it plays, because I know how to play Seven Wonders Duel, particularly with Pantheon, I think I would prefer to play that as a game.
Yeah.
Right.
But it is Seven Wonders Duel for a simple game, particularly with one of the expansions. You have to play that a few times before you start to really see how the bits and pieces
and then
move
how it all connects
to
in the
get that
ages
value.
and- yeah.
Lord of the Rings Duel, though, even though all it's done is taken bits and pieces out of those expansions, I taught my son how to play this in 10 minutes. We played in 20. We played 3 times in one night.
Love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask, I'm like, was it just so easy for you to pick up because you played 7-1?
No. This was
the retheming has
the-
worked a lot.
It's not just the retheming, but it's the paring down of certain rules and introducing variations on some of those complex rules has meant that it's a super quick teach. My daughter is interested. My daughter wants to play this, so I've promised I would teach her to play. And it's a quick game. It's really good.
I think what you said in regards to how the theming probably integrates with the rules a lot better, like the actual ring bearer track.
Yeah.
When we saw it, when I looked at that, I'm like, oh, that makes 100%.
Yeah, that looks
makes
cool.
100%.
Yeah.
The fact that there's ring bearer that's just consistently moving down the track, and you've got to sort this out, and like essentially the ring bearer is chasing you around the track. And I'm like, okay, that makes 100%. I do think I'm like you, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, that Seven Wonders Duel is one of my favorite all-time 2-player games, and especially with the Pantheon expansion, it's a must. Agora, you can take it or leave it.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
I
whatever,
don't think
it's
I've
fine.
ever played the 3rd expansion, but I did enjoy
It's fine.
My wife and I played a bunch of 7 Wonders, and she is a Lord of the Rings like guru.
Yeah.
I'm not completely there, to be honest, but
Yeah.
that track with the horsemen catching
Yeah,
the
it's
hobbits,
really
I'm
cool.
like,
That
oh,
legitimate-
that's a race. I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
races.
Well,
Yeah.
is it a full race, or is it you just
No,
bouncing
not
around?
really.
Because it's just
No,
that you
no,
just
no,
have to
no,
overlap
no,
it. Can
it's-
I move left and right on
As
that?
as soon as they
no.
catch you, it just goes one direction.
Okay,
So,
yeah,
it-
so
it-
it
it-
is a race down the track.
It's like a
Yeah,
slider.
yeah.
It only
Yeah.
goes one direction. I will also say that there are also bonuses on this track as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like quacks.
So sometimes you're incentivized to just go down the track just because you might. get
Oh,
an
so
extra
you
turn.
slide that whole thing
Yeah.
down the track. Oh, that's even better.
So-
I didn't even. Oh, that's
so-
so cool.
We will try and get some B-roll for this.
We're also trying probably get a
Um,
let's play this at some point.
but-
Yeah, that's super
yeah.
cool.
So sort of have that
I'm-
circle
I'm
piece
showing
on
the
the
guys
end.
here.
They're taking the Hobbit's to Isengard.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's gonna play constantly.
So-
whenever
Yeah, I
someone
can
moves
see what you
that, it's a
mean, yeah.
soundboard.
Yeah. So basically,
Oh, so they start there and he starts all the way
so
back there.
When the hobbits move,
yeah.
the whole track slides down.
Oh,
But
that's
when-
so cool.
But when the ring wraith moves, he moves down independently.
yeah.
Okay, and so what will happen is that the hobbits will always move closer, but the ring wraith will never ever move further away.
Yeah.
from them.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
That's
isn't it?
such a
It's
that's
such a
such a
silly
good
But
thing.
does that change the bonuses? The
No,
horse gets?
because
it's
it's
printed, on this
there.
part.
Oh, that's such a
that's
good
clever.
design.
Okay,
Alright.
we're super gushing over a board game component right now. So
It's-
if you
it's
want to,
so nice,
if you
though,
want to see
honestly.
what we're talking about, go to www.youtube.com/@BG Gateway
Yeah.
for all of our podcast listeners, because this is honestly one of those, like, there's not many times where I see
I
a
don't
board
think
game
I've ever-
component and I go, oh man, that's cool, right? But this is one of those
Oh,
times
no.
where I go,
The first time I
that's-
played like Too Many Bones, I'm like poker chips.
Oh no, like,
yeah.
no, but it does. It rarely happens these
yeah.
days. Now, when I see something like that component immediately made me just go, "Crap! Now I really want to play / maybe
So,
own this game."
Oh, look, just to sort of like put a bit of a bow on that answer, I will say, I think I prefer to play this as just a quick get it off the shelf, play a quick game.
Warm
But
up game almost.
if someone said, if you had a choice between like to pick one 2-player game that you would play
like for life.
for life,
Yeah.
I think and ignore theme, but which game is better as a game? I would say Seven Wonders Duel with Pantheon
Yep.
is still the better game.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
But which game would I prefer to have in my collection? It's this one.
That's a big call.
Because this one I can pick off the shelf anytime and teach anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seven Wonders Duel with Pantheon,
Yeah.
there's like a 20-30 minute.
Yeah,
just
the thing is,
just
right.
having the sorry, Ralph, you go, right?
But the thing is, you're saying like that's a game you could play forever, right? You said before, like Seven Wonders Duel is the better game with the Pantheon expansion. But like, if it's a game that you're going to play on repeat over and over and over again, there's no variation in this
But
game.
that is true, but I will say, and this is purely a personal thing,
Mhm.
I have too many games. So I would prefer to have a game that I could just pull off my shelf and teach anyone.
Welcome to the group.
I will say that having the Lord of the Rings theme does make it instantly
Absolutely.
more like someone go, okay, I don't really know, but it's a lot.
It's
I know
easier
what
to
Lord
get
of
off
the
the
Rings is.
shelf.
Yeah,
Of
we'll do that.
That and it's so.
Anyway,
pretty.
so what do you reckon? Do you think that this is a big recommend?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, this is a big recommend from Damien. So we'll really happy about that. Look, we're going to move from. Oh, sorry, Ralph.
I have one question.
Please do.
Does it actually feel like you're in Middle Earth?
No.
Okay.
Damn.
Like, I mean, for instance, I've played a little bit of War of the Ring.
Mm.
That feels like you're in Middle
Yeah,
Earth.
definitely.
Okay.
That's very grand.
Like, but that's the two games are so far apart.
This is just looking at cards.
Yeah,
okay.
It's all it is. Look, the artwork's sensational. You spent.
It's beautiful.
I spent a lot of time looking at the cards. But if someone said, "Does it feel like you're playing Lord of the Rings?"
Does
No.
it feel like you're collecting the Fellowship?
No.
Like, do you gather everyone? You're like, oh, I'm missing the dwarfs. Give me
No.
or
No.
whatever.
At no point do I say
Yeah,
I need a dwarves. Like, I need a horn.
Like, where's Legolas? Like,
He's
you don't say
not
the
coming
horn.
to you, right?
You're not
Yeah.
saying where's
No.
Legolas like
No,
in the game.
I'm saying, where's the horn? Where's the
right.
feather?
Okay,
Or something
cool,
like that. So, yeah.
Fair.
no worries.
All right, so that was Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth, one of the new games that's out. You will actually be able to find it pretty much a lot of places that stock your board games because it's actually one of very hotly requested games.
Just want to say this. I was on Big W's website today. They're selling Blood on the Clock Tower.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do drop shipping now.
Right.
That's
Just
crazy to me.
Like you can
Okay.
you can buy board games at Bunnings.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyways, that was random fact
Anyway,
I saw
so
today.
that's super awesome. Anyway, we're going to move now from a duel game to another one. Now, in last week's episode, I said this. Seven Wonders Duel, I think, is better than Seven Wonders. I think Splendor Duel is better than Seven Wonders.
Never played either.
Splendor Duel is 100% better than it. And I'm willing to bet that I think Tokaido Duo, I don't know if this will be the first game that I go.
I'm very
it may not be as
interested
good, but
to
it does
play-
look very interesting. So, what I said is I don't know if Takaido is going to, if Takaido Duo could hold up to how much I really like Takaido.
Yeah.
Of course, right? And that's why we're going to talk about this. So we're going to talk about Takaido Duo because I finally got it off my shelf of shame.
Yep.
And it has now. So, Damien, have you grabbed that box?
Have
right
you?
there?
How many games did you play?
Me and my wife played 3 games in one night.
3?
And then
Yep.
she loved it so much. The next morning we had we made breakfast. And I was like on the weekend, Saturday
Takaido
morning.
themed pancakes.
Well, we made pancakes, and then she said, as we just finished, and the kids were just cleaning up, she goes, "Get Takaido Duo out. We need to play it again right now." And I was
cool.
like, "Hell yeah!" Right. So this is a great because if my wife gives the seal of approval, it instantly
You're
stays
good,
in
right?
the collection for a long time. Now, Takaido, we talked about it in last week's episode 60. Last fortnight's episode 62. Go back and check that if you want to. See
The full
the full
four-player
breakdown of
version.
that, the full game. But Takaido Duo takes so myself and Joel, we've played this game a little bit. Ralph and Damo haven't. But Takaido Duo essentially takes the formula of Takaido and turns it into a very interesting 2-player game. The way that it kind of works is that you have the island of Hokkaido, I believe is the island that we're jumping around. And the way that it works is that we want to have the most amount of victory points at the end of the game. Now, we have 3 different meeples that we are trying to use, and they will score points in different ways throughout the game. The first one is there's the trader, there's the artist, and so the merchant, the artist, and there's one more. He's the man who walks around the outside of the bed. He's like like a monk character.
Right.
But all 3 of them move in different ways. So it's the merchant, the artist,
pilgrim.
There he is. That's what I'm
There we
thinking. So they all move around this board in different ways. So the first and foremost is on the outside of the island. There are all of these towns, and the pilgrim, he just moves along those towns, picking up different things. And that can be getting gold. It can be getting bonuses, so on and so forth. Now, the pilgrim, each of these 3 characters have their own mini boards that they're trying to do to score victory points. The pilgrim primarily scores points in one big way. He has to visit gardens. He also has to visit temples. And so he scores points based on however many temples times however many gardens he went to, right? So the more of each you can go to, you get big points from him. So he's the first one. The second person that you've got is the artist. And the artist, now you'll see the island is separated into 8 areas. Now the artist moves from area to area, and he can't move diagonally through the cities in the center of the board. And it's split into those 8 areas, and he has to go to each of those areas. And when he goes to those areas, he is trying to get adjacent to other people on the board, including your own people. That's fine.
Yeah.
And so for every person that he's adjacent to, he first of all, he paints a painting. So if I'm adjacent to 3 different characters on the board, I paint 3 paintings.
Yep.
But then to score the victory points, I then need to take those paintings to the appropriate areas to sell them to people in those areas.
And yeah, you can't really see it on camera at the moment, but in the different areas, there's different matching icons that will match some of the paintings the artist has.
There's 4 of them. So they appear, there's 4 different symbols. And so if I need to sell the moonlight symbol, I need to get to that area.
Right.
Okay?
So
and
that is straight out of Tokaido.
Yeah,
You have
pretty
to
much.
collect the
You-
cards to
yeah,
create the painting.
exactly right.
Okay.
And then the
so
cool
cool.
thing, like the main difference with this is the symmetry between the 2 players. So the artist basically has two options with his turns. He either uncovers more paintings so he can work out where to go, or he cashes them in. But how many paintings he uncovers is directly related to how many pieces are surrounding that area on the board.
Where he lands.
Yeah, so
That's a super interesting. And then the final person you have is the merchant. And the merchant, basically what they're doing is they are getting, they're visiting these 4 center towns.
Mhm.
And every time they they get to a town, they get to look at as many tokens from a bag as that they have. And then you just can put them into your backpack. And then you have to take them to an appropriate town. These get randomized. So like, for example, this town will sell shoes for 2 coins, or this town will sell something else for 4 coins, right? Yep. So you need to get them to that area. So you're trying to basically get a whole bunch of the same item in so you can go and cash them in for big money. And depending on how much money you have at the end of the game, he gets these golden slabs and you get more and more points. The way this game becomes very interesting is at the beginning of every turn, one player becomes the active player and they get to they roll 3 dice which relate to each of the 3 characters, and then they pick the first one, the second player picks the second one, and then you get the third one, and you get that immediately. Then you move them, rinse and repeat, switch the active player, they get to pick, and away you go.
yeah.
And then there are a few other things that we haven't really mentioned, like, for example, there's a hot spring action, which gives you potentially a second action, which can be very powerful.
There's like bonus power-ups you can get to upgrade the pilgrim for you, or
the pilgrims. And so there are things like, for example, the pilgrim has to move the exact amount of spaces that you say that he has to move.
Okay.
Right? So then there are power-ups like, hey, move the pilgrim +1, or move them maybe -1, right? So there's all these power-ups. The game plays in about 20 minutes. And I have to kind of eat my words here because I think I prefer Takaido Duo more than I prefer Takaido. It is stupid.
It's such a good game,
Stupid
honestly. Good. I think the best thing that I like about this game is it's very self-balancing the entire time. So in 2 ways. One, like the general turn mechanic is, there's 3 actions we can pick. I get to pick first, then you get the second best, then I get the last leftovers. But then on your turn, you now get first pick. So if I've started streaking ahead, you can claw back, or we can go for different things, and it kind of self-balances itself as the game goes around. And the other part that it does is with the 3 different pieces. So like as we sort of mentioned, the artist will uncover tiles. It's based on if the artist is in this area, for example, and then Nee has his merchant here and his pilgrim here, well, he's kept them too close together, so I'm going to put my artist there and get more things than I usually would. So he has to be cautious of exactly where I am at all times. And as a 2-player only game, it's very like my actions will directly influence the other player, and it's really good in that sense.
That's pretty cool. So it's very tit for tat sort of.
Yeah.
That's tight 2-player game.
It's great at 2, basically. Like
Well,
it doesn't work at everything else, but
You know, I don't think it'll be great at 1. But 2,
you could try.
I'd say
You'd
2
always
will be
win.
great.
Takaido solo coming to a store near you soon.
Yeah, but so basically, you mentioned it's a roll and move. Is there any way to mitigate dice, or rather, do you feel like you need to sort of like manipulate the dice at any point?
I never really felt like I needed to manipulate the dice. I did feel like there was an obvious best move.
Yep.
And I did feel like, especially there was a few times where I did have interesting choices where as the first player, I was looking at a dice going, if I take that, she is 100% taking that. Or Jol would 100% take that one next. There's no doubt about it. And so then the question then becomes, do you go the suboptimal route now, but knowing that that's going to stop them from getting their optimal?
Because it's basically a drafting mechanic, essentially. So you don't, like, the drafting itself kind of mitigates it. So even if, like, I'm going to roll 3 different dice, there's 3 different moves that I can make. And if none of them are good for me, there's definitely an option that's bad for him.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of ways to get around it. And then when you take in the second or third dice, you understand that you didn't pick first anyway. So I don't feel like there's any effect where I'm like, man, there was nothing good to do this turn.
Yeah, I'll say, look, I'm definitely keen to give this one a go because the reason why I bounced off Tokaido and I sold it was because of that situation where when you play it with 4 people, for instance, and everyone sort of groks it and says, well, why would I rush to a hotel?
Yeah.
Because the way Takaido works, as the bigger box version, is that everyone's just traveling along this one linear track, and the game is broken up into chapters, and every chapter ends with everyone finishing at a hotel where the first person who gets to the hotel gets the best meal for the cheapest, and the last person there basically is forced to go there to end the chapter. And then you go again. But the goal of the game is that it's a set collection game. You're either collecting sets of different people, sets of paintings.
You never really want to go there early because you're just missing out on actions, and everything you do is points.
Exactly right. But the way it works is that if you choose to go to a hotel early, you're missing potentially a whole lot of actions.
That makes sense.
So with this one, the end game is triggered by, we said, so the 3 different characters have a different way that they get points each.
Yeah.
If any of those characters finish their points or finish their little board, the game ends immediately.
Oh, wow.
Basically. So if I can see that you're getting ahead on the merchant, it's my choice whether I want to race my artist there first or try and block your merchant.
I love the game with some game tension like that's Knizia all over, isn't it?
I will say it is not immediate. It is end of round.
Yeah, it's
so
like,
if I finish
get
on
one
first
more.
one,
Yeah,
it is
that's
that
pretty
round,
cool.
but that round.
Yeah.
And so I will say, when it comes to do you feel like you need dice mitigation, the answer to that question was actually no. Because what ended up happening a lot of times, especially with the pilgrim on the outside of the board, was there was a space that we're specifically looking for, which is the water spaces, which get you the bonuses. And to be clear, you can steal the bonuses off your opponent. So if they get it first, you can go, no, actually, I would like that power instead. I'm going to take it from you, so now I can have it. And there were times where I could see Georgie was literally, and when we were playing it, was 2 spaces away, and the pilgrim comes out and there's a 2 there. And I'm sitting there going, if I don't take that, she's going to get the bonus. But if I don't, but that means that I have to take it, and it puts me on a spot that I don't necessarily want to be on, right?
Yeah.
So the choices actually become super interesting because, as Joel said, if you see that you think you can actually see what the point, there's no hidden points here in this game. Like, it's all open information. You can see, I'm winning. I think I've got enough points here.
It's very clear what the standings are.
Yeah, you can be pretty clear. But that meant that if I know that I'm 2 away from rushing the merchant, I can now put Georgie or Joel or whoever my opponent is under pressure and go, if you don't stop me from taking a merchant, I'm going to end this game and you're just not going to. So it's now up to you. So there's actually a lot of really interesting decisions you have to make in this game. It plays in 20 minutes.
Do you ever feel like, I want to do all these things, but the dice are saying, no, I can't?
100%. There was a lot of times where I'm
That's
like,
pretty cool.
I really need to start getting some points on my artist.
It's funny.
And I don't really want to take my artist because if I take the pilgrim again, then I'm going to be getting 6 points and I put myself 1 stop closer to the inn to get the second action token.
Yeah. Like for a game that you would think, because the main mechanic is rolling dice and then seeing what happens, you'd think that it feels fairly luck-based. But I don't know in your experience, but when I was playing, it felt like my decisions were making more impact than what the dice came up as.
That's good.
There were a couple of moments where you're like, that was the best roll I could have hoped for.
For sure.
There were a few of those moments, but again, because you're only rolling 3 dice, it's very clear of like, okay, this is the best one, I think, and now I have to make it. So
I really like that in a board game where you're trying to make the best out of the situation that's in front of you. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
What would you say the age limit is for this, like to introduce someone to it? Because it sounds quite like a complex point salad type game to me.
It's not actually that complex. The only complexity would come into understanding how many points you actually have.
Okay.
In terms of actually moving around, look, I would be saying, if you were to ask me, should I be playing Tokaido or Tokaido Duo first for a younger kid, I'd play Tokaido first.
Yeah, Tokaido.
You play Tokaido first because that is literally as simple as move along the track, do the thing. Whereas this one has a few more interesting decisions of, I can move around the board. I mean, Joel, that's what I think, but I think we'd be pretty... What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so too. There's definitely more happening here, and you have to pay attention to the other person a bit more as well. And yeah, I'd say definitely standard
So
Tokaido
this is a
the simpler one.
crunchy, thinky game.
Not too crunchy. It's much more lighter than you would think. It sounds crunchy from
Maybe I'm just hungry.
Yeah, well, it's not heavy.
Like-
It's just
like
that it actually just provides some interesting choices, and you've just got 3 different ways to go about it.
Yeah,
Like
cool.
waiting, I'd think like a 2-ish.
The merchant, for example, is like there's some interesting decisions of like, well, the towns in the south allow me to draw 4 tokens from the bag, whereas the towns in the north only allow me 2. But if I go to the north, that puts me further. If I go to the south, that puts me further away from the place that I want to sell it, because all the places that I want to sell are in the north.
And
right?
I don't know if you agree with me on this, but what I actually think it does really well is the rules and the iconography in this is just the right amount.
Yeah.
The rules are so simple. Well, like they're a little complicated, but the way that they explain it is very straightforward. And the board,
good examples too.
Yeah, if I had to describe it, I would say it's simply beautiful. As in, it looks really nice and it's eye-catching, but it's all with purpose. The colors are nice and easily distinct. You're not really getting icons mixed up.
So if you're looking here, the areas, the yellow track, that's the 8 areas are broken up by the track that the merchant goes on. He's on the yellow stuff. So he follows all the yellow lines. And then you've got the outside of the board, and then you've got the area. So it's all quite interesting. This one, again, is one that I bought because I saw it and I go, this looks super interesting, and I've played it and I've gone, this is actually super good. I do, as we said, would recommend for a younger person, play Tokaido first.
Yeah, cool.
But if you, again, this is taking, what I really like what they do is that designers take the game, boil it down to its core concepts and go, how can we make this an interesting thing for 2 players to fight against each other?
They also sound like, how do we make this a better game? By the sounds
sometimes
of it as well.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't want to take a game that's beloved and make a worse game, I guess. So
you probably don't.
I mean, they're pretty much. I mean, they're bang on. Spin the Duel has been good. Tokaido Duo is great. So
I'm very interested one day to try Cosmic Encounter Duel.
Yeah, I've seen that.
One's on my radar too.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game sounds fantastic.
I was just trying to have a look. That's why I had my phone out, and I was trying to find out who the designer was, and because I said this sounds like either an Anton or Bruno game. It's
Anton Balls.
Yes,
yeah.
And that's why
we should have a thing where you try and
and
guess the designer.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of Antoine Bozza, we are going to jump straight into our gateway game of the week. Now he's gone back.
Designer.
Yeah, he's back to back, right?
Look
so this is
at
like
that.
last week we talked about him
back to back.
All three.
All three.
Oh,
Wow.
this
The
one's
Bozza
to you,
special.
Anton.
Oh god, we're gonna have to come up with some kind of pun for the title name.
If anyone knows how to reach that guy, you should send him this
Okay,
podcast.
so this is
definitely.
our last game of the night before we get into our discussion topic. But our gateway game of this week is Hanabi, the 2010 cooperative classic designed by Antoine Bozza. He did the artwork for it as well. And this was one that Joel suggested that we do. And I'm very glad he did. So take us through Hanabi, Joel, and let's talk about why it is our gateway game of the week.
For sure. It's actually a previous, is it Spiels? I forget how it's
Spiel
pronounced.
de Jadis.
Yeah.
Winner as well. But look, I think this is a really good co-op limited communication game. And the main theme of the game is that I will have a hand of cards like so, and all of my teammates can see my cards, but I do not know what is in my hand. So Damo might say something like, these 2 cards are green, or these 2 cards are a 5, and I'll slowly learn information, and we are trying to place the cards down in color set and order. So from 1 to 5, I want all the red ones, 1 to 5 in green, and so on and so forth. What the game does really well, it's a very low skill level barrier to entry for anyone that wants to try limited communication, or if you haven't done cooperative games before. In terms of the game's mechanics, there's only 3 options on your turn. It's fairly simple. And it's really lightweight. It only takes up a small section on the shelf. I think you can get it for $15 at Big W.
Yeah, you can get it everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen this at EB Games as well.
Yeah, it's a very low level of commitment to try this game, and it just, I feel like I've been getting it out a little bit more and more. Me and my partner have evolved our strategies as we've played it again and again. I think we're 10 games in now.
No, I'm telling you that one is white, Joel.
Yeah, right? And sometimes you're like, I can't tell you that, like, hey, the red cards can't be played anymore. But I've told you that you've got 4 red cards in your hand. And I'm just really hoping you figure it out.
So what's the object of this game, Joel?
So the objective of the game is to have the best fireworks display possible. The manufacturers have unfortunately mixed up all the colors, and we're working together to put them out. And to do so, we put all the cards in the 5 different stacks in order, 1 to 5. And then at the end, depending on how high we got our stacks, we'll get points on that. So if we happen to get all 5 stacks from yellow, blue, green, all the way up to the number 5, that's a perfect display of 25
So how do you
points.
do that if I can't look at my cards?
So I might say something, for example, Ralph, that this card, and this card are all the number 1. And
There's also a 4th card there now in his hand as well.
Yes. And Ralph is aware that we need to play ones to start the game. So the fact that he's got 3 of them, you might be so inclined to play one. Now that's good. Now, unfortunately, you didn't tell me anything, so I don't know anything about my cards. So I'm just going to throw this one out.
So on your turn, you can either play a card to contribute it or start a new firework display.
Mm-hmm.
If you get it wrong, you lose a life. Similar to games like The Mind, if you make a mistake, you lose a life. We've got 3 lives in the game. Or you can give a clue to someone. So to give a clue, you have to spend a clock token.
Start with 8 of them at the beginning of the game.
That's right. And you can tell someone a clue, like Joel just gave me a clue now. But the thing is, they're limited resources. You only have 8 tokens, like Nee said. And to get one back on your turn, instead of playing a card or offering a clue, you can discard a card from your hand. But ideally, you want to discard a card that's not going to cause life loss. And all the cards have different quantities in the game as well.
Yeah, so for example, there's only one number 5 in each color. So if you happen to throw out the number 5, you are never going to complete the red set, for example. Whereas the ones, there's 3 of them and there's 2 of every other number. So ones are pretty safe. If you lose a couple, no big deal. Yeah. And there's other like little strategies involved. But essentially, you have 3 lives. So if you play a card and we're not up to the red 5 yet, we're only up to the red 3, we're going to lose a life. And if we lose 3, the game is over. Also, if we run out of cards in the deck, we've taken too long and the game is over. Otherwise, if we do happen to get a perfect score, the game will end at that point too.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed this. I think this is a perfect kind of cooperative. It's a perfect look. So let me start this again. Card games, I think, are really one of a great starting point for people to dip their toes into new game mechanics and gaming, modern board gaming. This game did win the Spiel des Jahres in 2013 as well, by the way. And I think this is a really good blend of those sorts of games that allow you to do things like, okay, for example, all the second meanings of things and the whole idea of like breaking tradition of going, the whole limited information of I can see everyone else's cards, but I can't see my cards. And the choice of, well, Damien, I've got to tell you what numbers you have. And why am I telling you that they're all number 1s?
Yeah,
for
why?
example?
I'm not going to listen.
Is it because you want me to play them or you don't want me to play them?
It's easy to forget something.
Yeah,
it is. But that's the exciting part, which is the game itself becomes this. It's almost like a logic. It's either a logic puzzle, but then you have to be careful with it because you can only give 2 sorts of clues. I can only tell you have these cards are all red or whatever color. These cards are all this color, or I can tell you that these cards are all this number.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, it's my turn now, and Joel just told me that all of these cards are red, but red is on number 4. Why would he tell me that they're red and not the number 5? I probably don't have a number 5 in my hand.
That's right.
He's
if you had a 5, I probably would have told you, right?
That I can just get rid of all the cards here. It's like, hey, just start. You can discard these cards and let's get some tokens back. And I will say the choice of going, we were running our tokens really low in our game that we played before the podcast.
Yeah, we played risky.
But there was those moments of like, okay, we've got no more clues, but I'm fairly certain I've got enough information to safely discard this card now. And
we have to risk it sometimes.
Yeah, I find it's one of those games that, and like we had to teach, and it was 2 minutes, 3 minutes, if that, and you sort of got it halfway through anyway. And then it takes 15 minutes for our first game, maybe 20. We found that we would play it, and then be like, oh man, we died early. Want to go again? And you would sort of play it 4 or 5 times in a row, and your strategy evolves every time. You kind of grow with the game almost.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, look, I really liked it. I will say, like, memory games are not my favorite games, just because I'm not very good at them. You
can barely handle that's not a hat at the best of times.
No, but the difference is that's not a hat. I can bluff my way out of it.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I don't lose at that game. It's I don't get. It's a fork. It's a fork.
I will say you can.
I don't even remember you seeing a
fight
fork.
me. It's a fork. I think for me that's why Hanabi was never a game. So I have played it before.
Yeah.
But it's a game that never really hit home, and it's because of that memory element. But in saying that, I agree with everything you've said so far. It is absolutely the sort of entry-level game I would hand to a family and say, all right, we're going to have to work together, and you can get kids involved, you get everything. And it's also the sort of game that I could see kids turning around to parents going, "But I told you that was a 1. Why didn't you play it?
What are you doing, man?
What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
Speaking of families, you could find this game at www.sydneysfamilygameday.com. Our game day coming up on the 11th of November 2025. This game will be in attendance in our game library.
11th of January.
Did I say 11th of January?
You said November.
Did I say November? Oh god, it's one of those nights.
I was going to say like we
the
need
11th of January 2025.
we need a shameless plug, clap.
Every app.
Yeah,
have to.
yeah. No, but you will. But if that sounds interesting, this is something that will be available at the game day. Will be in the library. So as Joel has now joined us officially, his game
This
collection.
is now in there,
he
so-
will now become. There will be games joining the library. So that's super cool.
I will-
I will say that I did think that this is one of those games, Damon, that I do agree. This is a perfect. I don't know how. Like this is a game probably that is around that 8 to 10 range. I think they'd start bringing it online, just because I don't think kids have a lot of trouble understanding the double speak of game mechanics. Not because they wouldn't understand how to play the game, but the whole I can imagine telling my 7-year-old Evie, these cards are red. Okay, and just play a red card immediately.
Well,
but you said those are red. I'm like, oh.
The good thing that I like about it is because it is a co-op game, if you want to loosen the rules, it's in everyone's benefit.
Yeah.
So the first couple of times that we played it, I would tell you that you've got 2 3s, and then you would kind of forget, and you'd be like, oh, which one were the 3s again? And I'm happy to just be like, these are the ones that I told you about. Like, it's no new information, and sort of take almost like the memory element out of it, so
you can
to
probably
speak.
just play with 2 colors as well.
You absolutely can. I think it's got, I haven't played with them yet, but there's like an advanced like wild color once you think you've beaten it and you've won 3 times in a row or.
Yeah, I read that in the rulebook there's 4 variants to it.
Yeah.
I think this game is fantastic in the right group.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, if I was to pull out a card game to show new players, for me, it's always the Mind. For this type of vibe, because I feel like that really gets people loose to play something else later on. And the Mind is the type of game where I have beaten it with 4 people because we're playing it endlessly, and eventually we realize, let's see if we can do it without looking at the cards, just the vibes, and it was fun.
It's the vibe.
This game, I have played it with that same group as well, and we bounced off it after we played it 2-3 times, mainly because of the limited communication side of it.
But he loves Mind where there's no communication.
Yeah, but there's the thing. There's the vibes. There's the vibes.
Exactly.
The Mind, also the theming to it felt like I was reading it. I felt like I was reading your mind. I felt like we were connected. This game, I didn't feel connected to either.
I get it. I get what you mean.
I found this as a good tester. It's almost like I've got a couple of games in my collection.
I feel like it's a science experiment as well.
Yeah, like there's a couple of games in your
Mind is
collection,
as well.
right, where you're like, I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know what kind of games you like. You're new to the group.
Yeah.
Let's just try this.
Abs-
It's got a bunch of mechanics that you probably haven't tried before.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it,
And it's like both of you. I agree with both of you.
Yeah.
I was going to say the same
nice
thing.
is it?
No, I was going to say the same
I
thing.
love the Mind too.
So-
Don't get me wrong.
So, for me, Cockroach Poker is the one that I use to experiment with new groups. I've had people bounce off it because they don't like lying. I have people turn around and go, "This is amazing. Let's just play this game all the time."
That happens more often.
I know.
Yeah.
And so Cockroach Poker is my game that I introduced for that.
Yeah.
But for those who I know have played other games before, and Damien's going to come back and talk about another bloody trick taker. I'm sorry. The Crew is the one, because the Crew has the hidden information.
I've beaten that with the same group
but
as well.
but the difference is that you don't have to remember the hidden information because everyone has a token that you do something.
You got
with that
to
token.
remember where people's cards are.
I agree.
What's been played.
But-
That's a traditional
but it's
trick-taking
funny.
memory. Yeah.
I have no problems counting cards.
Yeah.
But if someone tells me this card's in this party, I can't.
I need to play the Crew with you because I enjoyed it, but the people I've played the Crew with, it bounced off them hard. And they
love the
like
Crew.
trick-taking games. Like, they're big fans of Yuka.
It got to a point, like
all
I
that
read,
kind of stuff.
we beat, or I think it's 50 missions. We beat all of them, and the last 10 were really challenging and fantastic. But I found I kind of stopped reading the storyline of it. We just sort of kept bouncing to the next challenge.
And it's for this, and I know we're not talking about it, but that's why I preferred Mission Deep Sea.
Right.
Yeah, that's got a bit more interesting missions.
It's got but anyway, but look, I'm just saying, like, I think the amazing thing is that we are forever spoiled with
we are
with the
100%.
number of small box games that we can introduce to people, and this is just another example of it. And every one of those games are completely different. I appreciate we have just said, "Oh, well, I prefer this one over this one for this reason," but none of those games are the same.
No. And that I agree with you in the sense of saying, hey, I can tell you, I'm absolutely going to say this is a gateway game, like recommends, board game gateway recommends
Yeah,
right
100%.
here.
Because
But
it's a different take
Exactly
on
right.
a card game. It is quite an interesting challenge as well. And plus, Hanabi means flower fire.
But-
That's so cool.
but
there
how,
we
but
go.
how
Something
you are
new.
right, but how good is it that I can say, I really recommend this, but if you like this, man, we've got some great other
Yeah,
ones to go
absolutely.
for you as well.
For sure.
And so, look, with that, we're going to come to the end of our discussion about Hanabi because it certainly is one that we can recommend and we think that you would enjoy as well. We have talked about other games such as The Crew and The Mind on previous podcasts as well. So if you want to go check our backlog, go have a look at those. But we are going to now move on to our discussion topic for this podcast. And for the first time ever, we have actually had a recommendation from a YouTube comment saying, hey, I think you guys should do a discussion topic about blank. And so we thought, what a perfect way of being able to get our community involved.
Did you say Blank or Blake?
I said blank.
Could have sworn you said Blake.
No, I didn't say Blake. It wasn't
Okay.
Blake.
It's trying to be ambiguous, man.
I was like, this is user Crobat5428 on YouTube.
Thanks, Crobat.
YouTube. And Crobat has asked us a question and it says, hey, for your question segment of your podcast, do you buy a board game based on the artwork or theme, or do you buy it based on
Never.
how much how the game is played / the style of the game?
you
so like
answer
I would assume
mechanics.
so when they say style of the game, I assume they mean like the mechanics of the game, like how it actually plays.
Can I start with this one first? So I'm holding Duel for Middle Earth that we just spoke about. Damien, I believe you purchased this based off its Lord of the Rings games. However, I don't believe you purchased it on the art alone because you've played Seven Wonders Duel and you go,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, but
But he bought it.
But I do like Lord of the Rings.
I bought it because I like Lord of the Rings.
Well, look, this is
Fair enough.
This is a super interesting topic as well because we've talked about the idea of like in previous podcasts about the Kickstarters and why so many games at the moment are coming up with so many extras and look
Yeah.
a specific way, and why, for example, things such as like artists such as like Ian O'Toole, for example, seem to be getting so much work and be doing so much stuff at the moment is because there is a specific design aesthetic that is super popular at the moment and people really enjoy looking at a specific thing. I have to say, specifically for me, however, I have never really bought a game based on how it looks. And to say there are some games that definitely not. I don't buy it based on artwork. I will buy based on theme. Hegemony is my big one that I always say. Like, it is a game that's an asymmetric. Not an asymmetric.
It's a political
Yeah,
game, isn't it?
like a simulation. And so that for me is something where I'm like, yeah, that's a super interesting theme, something that would provide a unique experience. But the artwork in it is meh. I'm like, I'm not buying it for it looks good. I do know that, for example, like the new version of El Grande, for example, some people prefer the new style, and yes, it certainly has that cleaner look. But I'm a beige boy. I'm like Damo is shaking his head like me. He's like, I prefer the first edition of El Grande
hell yeah.
over the second edition, and I know it looks basic. So for me, I've always bought based on mechanics and how the game plays. And I'm a kind of a bit like I'm a bit of a basic boy. I kind of really enjoy the old brown style of games.
I am also an educated buyer.
Oh,
So I like to research a game typically before I spend
Yes.
money on it, unless the game's like $20.
Yeah.
Anything built above that, I will have a
Yeah.
look to make sure it's the game I want.
yeah.
But in saying that, I did initially invest into Marvel Champions on the artwork,
Yes.
but then I bought more of it because the game was good.
Yeah. Okay. So you're the opposite of me. You're potentially, sometimes I guess you can buy into artwork.
Like I already knew based off conversations with people
Yeah,
that it was a good game, but the art was like, oh yeah, I think this looks really interesting to me.
All right.
Yeah. I think I'm in a similar boat. I don't really buy games for the theme, so to speak, but I definitely think the artwork gets me interested in the first place. Like if I see it on the shelf and it's just a black box with white writing, I may not even look it up in the first place to see if it has reviews or like...
Marshmallow. What the marshmallow
God,
game
that
you
was
played?
You're not doing
a
that
great
BGG
game.
search yet, you know what I mean? Like, but if I saw this box, that gets me the first step of the way, and then I would probably have a look online, see if there's reviews. I think another way that I typically buy games is we go to the fortnightly meetups. I try 3 or 4 games in a night, and then once I've played it, I'm like, okay, all right. I
Speaking
did
of,
like
have you
that.
bought Scout yet? Because I think you've played that 2 weeks in a row now.
Scout's really good. Yeah.
No, I have not bought Scout yet. I do enjoy that though. It was good.
really good,
I didn't cheat the second time, so that's good.
But this does bring. This
I think you told me 4 times you can't rearrange
You
the
can't
cards,
rearrange the
and I was
cards.
like, yeah, I don't know what you said, man, but I got 7 in a row just to start off. Like,
I will say that I do think specifically that from an artwork perspective, you are right that that artwork will kind of bring you in a lot of the time. But it depends on really what you're after in the game. Like again, we play games, so if the game is not good, then we're not going to keep it based on just the artwork. But sorry, that was my point.
In saying that, like the game we reviewed a while ago, Spots,
Yes.
the roll and write, the theme and the art alone, like they're all Dalmatian dogs, and you're rolling dice that are white with black pips in it, and like you had to roll a 1 on this dog's butt, and then you put the dice there, and you're like, oh, that's his bum. Like, it's hilarious, and the art makes that shine. And now I want that game just off the art.
My follow-up point here was that I was about to say as well is I was about to contradict myself a little bit because there is, again, we've talked about it, the whole idea of are you a collector? And there are board game collectors out there now who buy games basically based on these pieces of artwork to them. Like, you know, granted, they want to play them, but they will buy a game because it looks beautiful, and they will have a hard time getting rid of it because it looks beautiful.
and you get that a lot on your
shelf.
Kickstarters and things. Like,
See, I think I'm torn. I don't know how to honestly answer this one because
It's just the vibe.
it's just the vibe.
You're both.
Straight
You can be
vibes.
both. That's
Straight
okay.
vibe. Does it pass
Because,
the vibe
like,
check?
I've absolutely bought games purely because of the box. Like, so a really good example was Zaya. Okay.
Zaya. Yeah.
So Zaya Legends of the Drift System.
Can't wait to play that one day, by the way.
It's a fantastic game. I purely picked it up. So I went to go buy a game secondhand off someone one time. I went to their house to pick it up, and they said, "Oh, by the way, I'm selling other games. I'm about to list them." Zaya was on there, still in shrink, and I said, "That looks cool." I knew nothing about this game other than it was in space.
Yep.
And I will say certain themes will absolutely grab me. And it seemed like a good price, and so I grabbed it, got home, started playing it. Game's amazing. And it was
Zaya is basically just Twilight Imperium themed.
No.
Themed Dune, isn't it?
No, it's got nothing to do with it.
Zaya is a roll and move in space.
Yeah.
And
there's pirates, and you do smuggling missions.
I do.
Missions, the pirates. Yeah.
Right.
But
Well, then
so-
I'll definitely play it.
But in saying that as well, I have certainly purchased a number of games that look terrible, but I'd heard they were really good games.
Yeah.
So Concordia, which I spoke about recently, that is one. The artwork on that is...
Yeah, I guess the cards are pretty bland.
the artwork is questionable at best. I appreciate they are trying to go for a theme. I get that, but still, the artwork's not amazing.
It's interesting too. Like sometimes the theme, while it doesn't look pretty, it's super functional. Like it's really easy to tell the cards apart. And
theme is different from art. For example, Lord of the Rings Duel is theme that's going to sell this game.
Yeah.
Not the art. The art is beautiful, but no one's going to... Like, if you take Lord of the Rings off and you just come across that in the board game, sure.
I'd probably
The
still
biggest
buy it,
example of
personally.
this I can think of is Terraforming Mars, which is literally the theme is the terraforming of Mars and playing all the science and stuff. The artwork is completely stock image.
Half of it
is just stock images of dudes are just like,
but sometimes, like, for either one, like the theme or the art, like it helps enhance the game. But I don't think it's ever the reason that it's never the defining reason that I purchased it.
I have purchased a game for the art alone.
You sin. No.
I did. Regicide.
Oh, but
I've not
that deck is amazing.
So it's a game that you play with the standard 52 decks of cards, and it's just a card game. It's co-op. It's a fantastic game, but the art. I bought a deck just on the art because the idea is the kings, the queens, and the jacks are the bad villains, and you want to kill them using little companion D&D type characters. That are all the other things. So I bought the deck of cards that just has different characters for each card. That was it.
Okay.
I bought that purely based off the
Simpsons has ruined me because every time that I hear Regicide, all I can think is, you have selected Regicide. If you know the name of the king or queen and you're about to be murdered, press 1. It just ruins me.
Actually, now I'm going to think of that every time I play Regicide.
So, look,
Regicide's fantastic.
Like I said, I'm kind of torn. I think in my case, it's true for me in both. Where I have bought games purely based on the art, And I have absolutely bought games because purely because of the
Like, you know that you like that
the
mechanic.
the mechanics or I knew it'd be my sort of game. I mean, White Bash Cannonball's 1. It looks terrible. It's a cube rails game.
Okay.
It's a brown map, and you put bloody blue trains on it and stuff. And
Sidereal Confluence.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
like, I know I
another
love auction, negotiation style games, even though it's stupid, doesn't
Yeah.
look great, and it's like I bought the first edition one too. They've reprinted it in second edition because the iconology was a bit.
no. Age of Steam. The artwork on it is very, very good, but it's very simple. Look, it fits the theme, but there's not much going on.
Some colored hexes, a
That's
couple
all it
train
is.
tracks.
That's all it is. But the game is sensational.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, look,
It can go both ways.
So-
yeah.
I think, yeah.
so I
in
think
my
we've
case
got-
it is.
But the thing is, it's like buying a game for the art alone. Like you
Yeah.
already knew the about those games.
No, but I have, like I said, in the case of Zaya, in the case of
Duel for Middle Earth.
Duel for Middle Earth, I bought it purely because of the theme and artwork.
Yeah.
And then I had no idea what the game was.
Right.
Maybe my thing is that they just haven't brought out a theme that I feel attached to enough yet. Like, if I saw some Squirtle stuff, I'm probably in, regardless of what the game is.
yeah,
He's a Pokemon boy. That's
to
who
be
we've
fair-
added to this podcast.
To be fair, if a Thundercats themed board game
Oh,
ever came out,
Thundercats.
I would 100% buy it. I mean, except for the Simon miniatures one.
Do you want to show it off?
Yeah, no, I'll say it later.
Okay.
So Simon did release a Thundercats themed. I think it may have been a Zombicide. I don't know.
There actually is
I
a
just
really
went,
good
no.
Pokemon Battle Arena board game. That's quite good.
Like the TCG.
No, it's
thing,
not
or
TCG. It's an
different?
actual board game.
Yeah,
But,
okay.
I'll have to find out exactly which one that is.
All right, I think we're going to start to bring this one to a close, though. But in conclusion for our discussion topic, I think it's safe to say that Ralph can go both ways. Damien has a short
bit of a
fuse
looker.
and will impulse buy it no matter what, so long as he thinks it's cool.
Like he tries because he knows you
Joel
can move it
is
on,
currently
right?
waiting for the right. Joel
Yeah,
is currently waiting for the right theme before he settles down and commits, and I'm just a flip flopper. Who knows what I'm going to be doing?
You can go
next
both
week.
ways
I
as
can
well.
go both ways as well. We're just, I'm flip flop. I'm non-committal. I go back and forth on whichever one I think it is.
I don't think I want to
Nah,
dive into this any further.
I think we should get out of this one before we get going. Anyway, so that's going to bring it to the end of our episode. It's number 63. We did mention in the middle of the episode, but we do want to mention again here is that we are running our third ever game day. It's going to be in January the 11th of 2025. So if you're in Sydney, the Sydney area, we have changed the name of B3GD into Sydney's Family Game Day. And you can go to our website, www.sydneysfamilygameday.com to buy your tickets. And there you will be able to purchase the single ticket will be $20. You'll be able to buy a double pass at $35. A family is $60, which is four tickets. And you can also buy an evening only ticket, which gets you access from 5 o'clock onwards, because we'll be doing Blood on the Clock Tower all evening.
Yep.
So it goes from 10 a.m. through to 11 p.m. It's a full day, 13 hours worth of gaming.
Yep.
And we've had a lot of positive reviews about it.
Yeah, if you haven't been before, like we're all going to be present teaching people how to play too. So
Yep.
if you're wanting to get into the hobby and you want to try it out, this is the perfect event.
We'll show you all those really cool card games
Absolutely.
we're talking
Yeah.
about.
We'll also have
Absolutely,
a
yeah.
pop-
Hopefully you get Damo, not me.
Yeah, we'll also have a couple of pop-up shops once again. So we've got Leo and the crew from the Game Shelf. They are returning. And we've also got Johnny. He's bringing the Ethereal Grove back too. So we have those two.
Dice towers are amazing.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. So we're doing that. And we're also currently working with some local D&D groups to hopefully bring our first ever D&D like intro games to the session.
Yeah, so we'll have a few tables where they'll teach you how to play and even run little one-shots for you. There and
yes,
then.
so it
Nice.
sounds like a great day. So it's
You got
just getting
prizes
better.
too, yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, actually, that's right. We will have Lucky Door prizes once again,
Yes.
which should be really good. And the library we will cull and bring new games in, and
Yep.
so there'll be family favorites there, but also we'll be bringing new games in. And we are trying to get in touch with a couple of designers once again to hopefully bring their games in. We'll have more information about it if we can lock them down.
Yeah, and may as well commit because I've already committed
Oh.
officially on Facebook Messenger. For anyone who's interested, hit me up. But I will also be running a game of Arcs throughout the day. So if anyone is
Ooh.
interested on the new big boy Arcs,
You can teach that game in less than 15 minutes.
I will see.
You absolutely can.
you actually know
The
you
guy
can.
who taught me
I'd
how
actually
to play
like
it
to
taught
play
me
it,
in
so you
less
have
than
a practice
15
run.
minutes. I'm
Yeah.
telling you can get it down that fast, so it's good.
So, yeah.
So anyway, so that was a Sydney's Family Game Day. That is www.sydneysfamilygameday.com. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure that you go hit like, subscribe, leave us a comment down below about what kind of board games, why do you buy them? Do you buy them for art, for theme? just on pure vibes? What are, we want to know. We want to hear from you.
And I also want to know if anyone disagrees with me that on whether Concordia is actually a bad looking game. I maintain it's a terrible looking game.
It actually looks pretty good. Just putting it out there.
So to close out our podcast, I would like to highlight one comment from a video that we've just had recently. This is from @TableTalkReviews. He commented on our Logic Puzzle Addicts Rejoice, the game that will scratch your itch video. He said that similar to Unlock and Exit, the Holiday Hijinks are a great puzzle escape game room if you have not played them. And he said on the Logic side, the two games that he would recommend are Logic and Law and the Shipwreck Arcana. They are great logic games. Shipwreck Arcana is a cooperative logic and law. Shipwreck Arcana is a cooperative logic game, and Logic and Law is a competitive one, but you can play it with players at different difficulties. So he said go check out. We want to highlight, go check out Table Talk Reviews to check out Logic and Law. I've actually already checked it out. I may have already trying to get that one here because I am a sucker for a good logic game.
Yeah, cool.
So we'll see how that one goes.
Nice.
He also said Cryptid is a solid deduction game as well. And I
Agreed.
can absolutely say that it's a great one as well. So big shout out to Table Talk Reviews for giving a comment on our video. And so, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I would like to thank you very much for tuning in all the way through to the end of the podcast. I'd also like to thank my co-hosts for this evening for once again joining me around the table and doing it all there. We'd like to say thank you very much. We'll see you in episode 64. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.